What's up guys, Jordy here and welcome back to the channel. Now as you know, there's been two patches over the last couple of weeks in terms of server fixes and hit reg, and also a balancing issues with weapons from spread to nerfing the PP-29, which I'm assuming you've all seen a lot of over the last couple of weeks since the start of the game. Now, since the PP's kind of gone out of fashion, and ARs and similar weapons like LMGs have got a lot more usable since the spread fix, the AK-24 and the M5 and the SCAR I've seen a lot more use around and tend to be a lot more powerful now. Now, I believe there probably is, despite only being 22 guns, the meta is very small and can change a lot when balances happen like this. And I think the ARs are probably the new meta right now. The AK-24 is probably the best out of all of them, just in terms of recoil and damage and the amount of tap firing you can do with it. Where the M5 is more of your close quarter running on weapon, but considering the size of the maps on this game, it's very hard to do that, especially infantry with all the vehicle farming and stuff like that. So I thought I'd give a rundown of why I think the AK-24 is better, how you should run the AK-24, and just some scenarios that you can see in the clips running now, how the AK-24 can be useful in these types of combats, with its overall versatility and recoil management compared to the M5A3. Now, I haven't compared the SCAR and the AC-42 in this, considering I believe the SCAR does not even compete with the M5 and the AK-24, and the AC-42 is a completely different weapon considering its burst in terms of its recoil, its fire rate, and its damage, etc. But that's for another video to go over, so let me know if you'd like that. But for now, let's head into those recoil comparisons and see how they compare. Now, comparing the M5 with the AK-24, as you can see, the recoil from 10 meters for the M5 is this, and I'm going to show the obviously the AK's recoil just beside this on the screen next to it. As you can see, this is generally not all vertical. This is up and to the right. Now, also another problem with the M5 is its muzzle flash, as you can see right now. That was me semi-controlling it. When you shoot the M5, you get a lot of muzzle flash that kind of actually like blocks your sight. If you see this here, like when you're trying to shoot, you get muzzle flash and smoke that generally blocks your vision quite a lot, especially even if you run like the short barrel or the close combat armor, the close combat ammo. You get a lot of like muzzle flash that blocks your point of vision, and then that combined with the up and right recoil on the M5 is something that's not very good, to be honest, and it's extremely hard to control. Now for the AK, as you can see, these are the M5's recoil patterns here, obviously up and to the right. Now the AK will do at least a 10-meter distance. This tends to be, I've noticed, quite a combat range you get into quite a lot in this game, at least 10 meters and above. You very rarely get below this considering the size of all the maps. So something this, as you can tell straight away, this is just straight vertical. Obviously, it does end a little higher than the M5s. Not that much. Maybe a couple more bullets. And as you can see, your bullets are more tightly compact together in a nice, like, uniform way. Where the M5s kind of has, like, one here, a bunch here, then a bunch here, then a bunch here, then a bunch here. Where the AK just is a nice uniform straight line. So this makes it, like, when you want to control the recoil, obviously, the vertical is generally always the same, but this makes it when you want to control the recoil like that, it's so much easier to keep it in a nice compact bunch compared to something like, I know this wasn't the best controlling of recoil, but this is more like a circle spread, where this is more like a nice tightly compact bunch. So this makes it a lot easier for tap firing stuff like this, where you can beam people from distance as well. Now another advantage with the AK is the damage. Now the damage for the AK-24 is thanks to a video that I watched that Danny on PC did testing damage models before the day one patch. Now this may have changed around, but I don't believe it has done, or it hasn't felt like it's done. I'll link the original video in the description. The damage model of the AK-24 is 26 damage per bullet, and it drops off to 18 damage per bullet, which obviously that goes from a 4-shot kill up close to a 6 bullet kill at long distance, and I don't know the exact drop off and meters of this. If you compare this to the M5 with its default ammo, it's a 22 damage per bullet, and which drops off to a 15 damage per bullet. So obviously this goes from a 5-shot up close, which is incredibly not that good to be honest, and drops off to 15 damage per bullet, which is a 7-shot kill. So obviously it's going to take you an extra bullet with the M5, though it does fire faster. It does have a lot less manageable recoil, which in turn may find it difficult for you to hit that extra bullet that you need, and it's a lot harder to tap fire as well. Now, if you do put the close quarter ammo on the M5, it does go up to I believe a 26 to 13 damage model, so it's a bit better at close, but it also gets a lot harder at long range. Now, as you are all aware, the maps on this game are massive, so it's very rare that you actually get a close quarter combat fight to where the ammo becomes useful. So this is where I see the AK-24 having a lot bigger advantage, despite it only saying it has 2 more firepower, which isn't really that accurate in terms of the damage model. It does have an incredibly, 10 more range. But for the cluster up that I use on the M5, on the AK-24, should I say, is I use the K8 hollow sight. I believe this to be the clearest sight. The only other thing I can recommend is maybe the Fusion hollow, but I would go with the Fusion or the K8. Other than that, if you don't have a iron sight, if you don't have a red dot sight, should I say, I'd recommend running the iron sight for that. Now for the magazine, I go high power extended, standard issue, and then I would go the 50 round drum mag, which now I prefer starting off with the 40 round high power because it does a lot more damage, and you do get worse recoil control and a lower fire rate, but it tends to pay off with tap firing at range, and it literally hits like a brick. Other than that, I'd go with the drum mag, which is also a very good choice as well, considering you get 50 bullets to spray and pray. The underbarrel, I go with a rattlesnake light grip. Other than that, I tend to run nothing, maybe a laser sight, which are incredibly good in this game. The only problem is you have to turn it on literally every single goddamn life. Other than that, maybe a grenade launcher if you're feeling, if you're feeling bored. But I'd run a grip or a laser sight. And then for the barrel, I just go factory barrel, extender barrel, and then a muzzle brake. Normally factory barrel is best. I believe the extender barrel, it slows the fire rate down a bit too much for me. Even though it says it increases the fire rate, it doesn't. And then a muzzle brake if I'm struggling to control that vertical recoil. This is something that I'd recommend if, finding it a little bit difficult just to put that recoil under wraps. But yeah, I think the AK is going to be the new, the new meta weapon for a while, combined with the ARs and maybe the LCMG. But I feel like in terms of versatility, I feel like the AK, especially with that drum mag, is as similar as you're going to get to a PP nowadays, considering this got a massive recoil increase. But let me know what you think. If you like these types of videos, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to do more, maybe on individual weapons. I was just thinking for the SCAR, I really don't think this is viable, considering the AK is just all-round better in terms of damage and recoil. I just don't think the SCAR really competes. The AC maybe, but it's a burst. It's a completely different weapon, which I may do a weapon guide on, but let me know if you want that. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.